An unsavoury shower bath. Robert Redding, plasterer, was charged by Joseph Shaw, lodging-house keeper of Dolday, with emptying over in the contents of a chamber utensil on the night of Saturday the 10th instant. Complainant stated he was going down to his stable, and on passing defendant's house he received part of the contents of a chamber utensil on his head. Mary Severn gave corroborative evidence. Defendant stated he was assaulted by a mob of people who had come out of the Falcon Inn and was called a bee spy because he assisted the police in clearing the street. The mob followed him to the door of his house, where they commenced to throw mud and stones, inflicting considerable injury on his wife, who was still suffering from the effects. He went upstairs and emptied out of the window some soap suds on the heads of the crowd. Both complainant and the witness Severn were in the mob, and he saw the former take up a handful of mud and throw it at his wife. PCRV corroborated what defendant said regarding his usage by the mob, and bore witness to the help rendered by the defendant in clearing the street on several occasions. On the recommendation of Mr. Sidebottom, the parties settled the affair between themselves. It's 1891 in Dolday. This item was not included to intrude into a sad event in the life of the Parker family, but to illustrate how the upper class viewed the less fortunate. William Parker, aged 13, of number 2 Court, Dolday, went bathing on Sunday. On Tuesday, he was complaining of a headache. On Wednesday, he was bilious and said he had a pain in his stomach. He died on Thursday morning before Dr. Goslin, who had been summoned, could arrive. Dr. Goslin performed a post-mortem and had come to the conclusion that death was due to acute diarrhoea. The coroner said that bad smells arising from a privy would be sufficient to cause diarrhoea. A witness stated that near to the house in which the deceased died were 2 old-fashioned privies in which the refuse reached to about 3 inches above the level of the floor, while moisture and sewage were trickling from beneath to a distance of 6 feet, causing an extremely offensive odour. This alone was sufficient to cause diarrhoea. Mrs. Lotney, a neighbour, also gave evidence. She corroborated what Dr. Goslin had said as to the filthy state of the privies, and at this point Sergeant Thomas, the coroner's officer, was instructed to go and view the place referred to. The father of the child, James Parker, gave evidence as to the state of the yard. He added there was also a cattle stable in the yard. Mr. Shepherd, Assistant Inspector of Nuisances, stated that it was the duty of the owners to give notice to the inspector when the privies required emptying. Notice of the one in question had been received this morning, a complaint having been lodged by Sergeant Thomas. Dr. Goslin, re-examined, stated that he did not think a chill caught on Sunday could have brought on the complaint which caused the boy's death. The coroner then addressed the jury, pointing out that no notice had been given by the tenant to the owner. There was no moral or legal responsibility attaching to the latter. Mr. Hume expressed his surprise at the fact that such old-fashioned privies should exist in such a place. The foreman stated that the jury considered that the tenants were to blame in not giving their landlord notice. A verdict in accordance with the medical evidence was recorded. A mammoth pig. Mr. Nash of the Sow and Pigs in Dolday Street, Worcester, has slaughtered an enormous pig of the Shropshire breed, about 5 years old, which is supposed to have weighed between 60 and 70 score. This is considerably more than 90 stone. The length of this gigantic creature was upwards of 10 feet from the snout to the tail, 9 feet 6 inches in girth, and 4 feet 3 inches in height. It was the intention of the proprietor to have kept him until February 1845, but from an accident which caused lameness, it was thought prudent to slaughter him shortly afterwards. He'd been fed entirely on sharps and grains, and fine meat in appearance we have rarely witnessed. The curious will have an opportunity of viewing the dimensions of the animal, Mr. Nash having preserved the skin for the purpose of it being stuffed.